Me, how are you? Woohoo! This is Nisha, and I am coming to you with Living Bangtan 7. And we are Living Bangtan 7 Teep, and we are also Diversely Geek. And here we are back. This is our first live show after the after our Festa event, which was an absolutely unbelievable experience for all of us. And as you know, I play the guys behind me, but I can't have it playing live during the show. So, welcome, 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 and we are joined by an amazing team, and everyone is somewhere different. Everyone's in a different part of the world. I'm here coming to you live from Oakland, California, and we have Lantu. You can introduce yourself, my dear.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm French and I'm a life coach as well. And I've been with Nisha for almost a year now.
Yeah,
So yes,
I can't believe it. It's wow.
yeah,
Thank you so much. And as you know, I'm a one man shop sometimes, so I'm multitasking. And we also have Fleur, Venezuela. And you're coming from France, and Fleur, you're still in
I'm
Paris?
still in Peru.
Uh-huh.
So, hello everyone. I'm Flor, and I'm talking right now from Peru.
Tell them about yourself. No, everyone hasn't really had a chance to meet you. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, I just got into living Bangtan in these last 2 months, and it's been like a hectic um trouble. Um, well, what do I do for a living? I'm a physician. I'm a microbiologist.
it's amazing. You're looking at the teeny things in this existence that help us to
Yes.
literally stay alive. Because without the work you do, you know, people would be things like COVID would have probably been worse than what they were. So we appreciate you so much for the work you're doing. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Very borahay. And our last but of course not least, we have our trauma recovery specialist, and I am so happy I met this little sis of mine. Woohoo! And she is now part of this family. And we have Joanna Tupas, and we have a ton of stuff coming to you. She and I have been like, whoo, brainstorming about things to bring to our Army fam and the wellness world. So introduce yourself, tell people what you do.
Hi everyone. Sorry it's a little bit noisy here. We are at Connecticut, live at Connecticut right now. Here in the U.S. I'm with my Army sister. We caught the show last night, and we're just so relieved that there's another show coming up in August. Really thankful to be here.
Yeah, I can't. Okay, so we're gonna start out with I'm gonna be a good host, like I'm supposed to. I'm gonna actually represent my company. Hello, let me do the thing I'm supposed to do. You guys know my enthusiasm. You know I jump straight in. But let me talk to everybody about Living Bangtan 7. And Lanchu is one of our original admins, bringing in the European element. Flora has joined us recently, working with me. Crazily enough, because we're both in medicine, but guess what the two of us are responsible for? Social media. So, it's been an interesting thing for us to see how our own thoughts and self concepts are progressively changing and transitioning as we figure out what we can do. It's like I don't know if it's being in the medicine realm that gives us that kind of detail, but I think it's been a journey and it's been a good one. And then we have, of course, Joanna, who's coming on as one of our adjuncts, like a professor, and help us talk about our focus, which is the Living Bangtan 7 message is specifically about improving mental wellness and self care in the Army population at a global level. But it's really also the DG philosophy about embracing your inner geek as a credible source of improving and establishing positive self identity through your favorite fandom. And I think all four of us are living proof of that your favorite fandom, which is a healthy one, can help you improve your self identity. Am I right, everybody? Woo!
yes.
I think this show is literally the living, breathing manifestation of my research. Because we prove it every single second that we do work that's helping Army out at the global level. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Living Bangtan 7, and that is literally our episode 28. I cannot even imagine that we're at this place. We were just a little thought, and here we are. And we're a platform that the DG team, or the Diversity, which is the parent team, created to bring you wellness discussions, content, and musings based on the healing positive messages of our favorite fandoms. And in this case, it's Bangtan Sonyadan. So the name means living bulletproof 24/7. And our purpose is to help us all learn how to live confidently with self-love throughout the day. And also protected by the support and love of our angels, Bangtan, and of course, Army. And LB7 philosophy is a reminder of the power the bulletproof of Bangtan philosophy has as a source of healing, healthy coping, and support when we are struggling to believe in ourselves. So today is, okay, surprisingly, the show, we kind of conceived it as literally as we watched the show last night, and we were like, we need to have this conversation. So you guys could go ahead and unmute, except with Joanna, you let me, you mute and mute based on the sound. Where, yeah, hey, we have people. Hi, Atara, how are you? Atara's coming us live from, she's in Orlando. Tessa, I am actually don't know where you are, although hello and welcome back. So you can post in here and let us know. I always like to know where everyone's from. I'm going to play our intro tiles real quick, like a good boss. I am supposed to play things. I shall do it. So let me play our intro tile, and then we'll go straight in.
We are bulletproof.
I let it pay to the June this time because, I usually take it out, but I was like, nah, we're going to put it, because that was like the explosion day, I think, for everyone, for everything that we're doing today. Go ahead and unmute so I can, I feel bad. I'm going to play the next tile real quick, but let me ask you, how do you connect to that tile? And like when we initially started and we decided to put this as the tile that introduces our philosophy, how, like, y'all know, there's not a moment I play it and I'm not connected and I don't want to cry, because it means so much in the spectrum. Why do you think this particular tile holds so much emotional connection for us? Anybody? Joanna's muted, so.
I think for me, it's because of the progression it brings. Every time I see it, I feel like there's certain levels of progression, and it speaks about the human capability to ride with the changes of time.
And especially,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And for me, it's a progression, but it's my progression as well, especially because I know them since the very debut. So when I see all them growing up, I somehow see myself growing up as well, as a human being, as a coach, and as well. It's quite moving.
I think that's exactly what perfect.
Yeah.
This is new for you, Flor, because I say newer Army, but in the same sense, how do you feel when you see that tile? As you were here when they debuted that, so. Hey.
Well, it's for me, it's like I know it's a progression of their story, but I feel like I didn't got to live that with them. So it's kind of sad, but also I'm happy that I got to meet them. So
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, everybody literally stated all the parts of exactly why it's so connective. It's connective, exactly what you said for it. We're connecting to historically Lantu and I having been here now for a while with them and physically watching literally their physical progression. So that story is us watching them for me minus 1 year. Um, then it's also an emotional progression because you're watching the tile, knowing what they went through. And then your story, like you said, because it's your own personal story, right, Lantu, as you grew with them. Yeah, I think there was a quote, Lantu. Do you remember how Jin said that as they were growing up, they were growing? It was a Jin or a Jimin who said that we were growing up together, like together on a path like this. That army and yeah,
Oh,
Side by side.
yeah.
someone who was talking.
Joanna said I
Joanna.
think she agreed that I had it right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had it right. I was pretty sure it was Jin and
I
Jimin,
think it was Jin.
but
Yeah.
I think it was Jin originally who
Uh,
explained in 2017 or 2018 when they were doing jacket shoot for HYYH, I believe, because I remember the outfit. They were being silly. The Mukni were giving him heck, and then he's trying to say this profound thing, you know. Um, the concept of us, because today we're talking about transition. We're still in the phases of transition since our last Haegeum conversation. Uh, so, Lantu, talking about that with you and I, we're much older than the boys. How do we feel so connected to their transition?
maybe it's quite a repetition that I'm gonna say, but it it's related to one's evolution in life. So wherever you are when you meet them, even you are baby army or you are an old or like us, it doesn't matter. You are on your path, and this is very important. Uh, and this path is somehow is their path as well. You grab everything you need on this path, and you grow as at your best. I don't know if they, yeah,
No. I'm. Yep. Nope. Actually, that's perfect. I'm thinking about what you're saying. You know how I am, so don't mind me.
yeah,
Uh, because the philosophy of the word that you're saying makes me think about my own story. That's why you guys see me zone out for 2 seconds because I'm like, okay, what is this concept? What do you think then? Because our conversation today, Joanna, we were talking about why we're using the title of Beyond the Story. It's because it's a transition phrase, because the boys have used Beyond the Scene, right? And it's
mm,
behind the scene, beyond the scene, and behind the story. The fact that they're willing to give us this 10-year compendium of their own emotional experiences, it's a pretty huge concept, and I think that it's going to drive us moving forward in terms of what our relationship with them is. I could be wrong, so I think that's why we're adopting the concept of it. And of course, when the book comes out, so tell me a little bit about if you use the term beyond the story and you're talking about trauma recovery, Joanna, how do they relate to each other, especially with Bangtan?
Well, you know what? With a lot of us, we tend to hide our traumas, because we don't want to be identified with it. And I think that's one of the things that the boys had brilliantly, succinctly broken the stereotype when it comes to trauma, which is, you hide it and you mask it and you smile even though you're crying inside and those kinds of
yeah,
things. And there's always like, I think that's the main connection there. It's just what I said. Like sometimes a lot of us are just walking smiley faces and emojis, but deep inside, there's a story right there. There's beyond the story. There's something that's definitely going on internally that we are trying to mask, and it's not just beyond the story. There's also behind the story, which is really, it's not just what we're feeling, but the trauma that's connected with it. And like I said, the voice and the music, they have just um, beautifully put things in words. I was just talking to my husband the other day, and I had sent him the English subs of the last song, The Last, from DDAY. And he's like, oh my goodness, I did not realize that my emotion could be a part of a song. And it's just brilliantly put. And
Oh,
Bangtan has so, brilliantly put it into words. And without causing us to go back into that trauma or reliving that trauma. It's just learning to voice it out and accept it, and then slowly find the healing. So, yes, there's the behind the scene, which is the trauma, and beyond the scene, which is our masks. But in between that is the person, is us, and the healing that comes with it.
Oh, and the healing that, right, right. Oh,
yeah.
come on. She'll be back. She'll be back. Um,
I was when she was talking, I was thinking about amygdala.
mhm.
Jungi is not afraid of just showing the world, the entire world, all his trauma, his accident, his parents' diseases. Uh, he,
Mm.
in a way, just he just pushes us to be like him, to just voice everything, our traumas, and just accept them as part of history and part of our, yeah,
No, you're perfect. Perfect timing. You keep going
yeah,
with what you're saying.
yeah.
Literally, you
and
walked me
and
straight into
and
doing this. So
yeah,
let me grab it.
especially part of it's related as well with Namjoon words when he says everything I
Everything.
did yesterday is part of me today. So the trauma as well.
That's exactly it. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah,
You're totally correct. If you go to the very, 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 I'm not saying, please, people, when I say you're totally correct, what I mean is that
mm,
concept and philosophy completely connects to ours. And
yes,
that's what I mean. So if you don't agree with it, no, 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 perfectly fine, perfectly fine. And that we as an organization actually with John, Joanna, myself, and Flora are trained, and then Lantu's trained because she's literally a health coach in this specialty. You have a very good panel of people here, and we're all Bangtanis. So it's, and we're connected literally across the world on this one concept.
mm,
How much of a phenom is it that Jungi, let me tell you, and I've said it many times about this concert, the removal of the 9 stages are literally
yeah,
9 stages as we go through recovery within the self. Your stages could be more than 9. Mine could be 20. In his world, he voiced it, and then he literally manifested it as 9 levels. So each stage until he gets down to the ground level with us as that equal state emotionally is about removing barriers. Just what you just said. Like
mm,
totally that thing. Go to the last page when you guys have a chance. Take out your Haegeum and go to, see, the thing is they don't have pages on them, so it drives me a little crazy. But there's a page at which you're only actually seeing a dark, you're seeing a dark, dark, dark hallway.
yeah,
That dark visual, we could tell you in trauma recovery, this is actually an image that specifically represents the mind's vortex, the emotional and the spiritual and the mental vortex that we live in, because this is what we see in trauma recovery. We see this when our mind is embedded. When Jin had to go in and do play that game when they were doing, they were doing the vlog, and this is what he saw. Whenever he sees this, he struggles. But then They were like, "Are you sure you're going to do this?" And he said, "Okay, I've reached a place in my life where I can walk into that not knowing what's on the other side of it." This page in Haegeum, it says the image of dislocated and confused ego. This is literally a page that explains what we're talking, everything about the state of what you are before you are able to start removing. I think, and this is me, start slowly removing those stages or dealing with those stages that are impeding you and creating a wall. And then it's about moving into a space where we can no longer live dislocated. Does that make sense to everybody? What are your thoughts on that? Now you know why I was waiting so long to show you to do this page. I was like, this.
I can actually chime in with that, Nisha. That's totally accurate. In psychology, there's this personality or disorder called DID.
Mm-hmm.
So every trauma that you go through, it dissociates you. Your brain creates this different persona, right? That persona then would hold that trauma to make sure that you as a person can function, and not be held back by that trauma completely. So then that persona will become dissociative. And so the more trauma you have, the more, dissociations you have, and the more personas that you have, that at a certain point in time, it becomes confusing. You don't know which part are you playing.
Right.
The worst thing that happens in the amygdala plays a huge part on this. The actual amygdala in our brain, every time that your sense triggers a trauma, that persona would surface, and that's when the fight, flight, and freeze takes place.
Mm-hmm.
It either paralyzes you, or gets you angry, or gets you depressed because of that trauma.
Exactly.
So
Oops, we lost.
my friend and I, when we were watching am I still here?
Yeah, we got you for a
Am I
few seconds.
here?
Yep, you got
Am
you.
I still here? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, great. So my friend and I, when we were watching one of the shorts, in between shorts last night, and there was that last part where um, Augusty was being burnt down by Suga, and then there's a third person, I'm guessing it's Yunki, right, closing that chapter, turning off that TV. We were kind
Mm-hmm.
of discussing it, and we were saying, like, which one is he burning down? And I'm guessing it's Augusty because of the scar, right? So this angry, traumatized persona, he's trying to, it's over, I want to burn it down. I just want to burn the bridges on that persona of mine. I'm done. I've dealt with that. And then, of course, there's the sugar persona, the idol persona, the one that you have to keep up with, the one that, I'm masking you. You're inside of me, but I'm masking you. And then there's Yunki, learning to accept of that, all of that, watching it unfold before his eyes. And like, the funny thing is, he was looking at the remote. Yunki was looking at the remote. It was Suga that turned off the TV.
I
So
wish they
which
did that.
persona, yeah, which persona actually took control there,
It's
right?
Yunki.
So it's
It's
yeah,
Yungi,
so
I
it's so
guess.
so
Yeah.
I'm
It's
thinking that,
Yunki.
like, he's finally closed that chapter. He's finally accepted, because the goal of healing in psychology is going through the trauma, and healing comes with acceptance. Learning to
Yeah.
accept the trauma so that you embrace the persona and you become whole. So this dissociatives becomes a part of you again, and thus you become one whole person. You've accepted all pieces and traumas and parts of your self, and that's your healing. So I
And
just thought it was interesting. Yeah.
no, it's perfect. So I talk about
Yeah.
DID commonly with because it's something that people in the unfortunately. So let me just clarify. Floor, please, you can touch on this with me. DID is actually not that well accepted still as an actual fully embedded diagnosis, although we know that it's real. Because those of us working in trauma recovery are quite aware that some bipolar states with schizoaffective um, or psychotic features are actually more related to a DID. Now we're getting clinical. Fleur, is it like the microbiology and the microbiome of a cell, it is constantly replicating itself to be able to adjust and protect itself. Talk about that.
Okay.
No pressure.
Ask me questions like I don't know, because it's a very big subject.
No, it's
So-
a massive subject. And I think it's going to be something that, by the way, Army, we're bringing you this subject for real. This is part of what we're working on as a team for you. It's no reveals yet. But yeah, it's a thing. It's coming. So go ahead. I'm sorry, when you're ready. No, it's a big thing. Talk about, if you don't mind, how the cell structure protects itself with the replication phases in order to protect, put up walls.
Okay. Talking about okay, any kind of cell like bacteria, living. I mean, no, not talking about viruses itself, because they're like in between. So bacteria, human cells, animal cells, fungi. Okay. We have our DNA, and we have to cut that or replicate the DNA in order to have new cells. Inside the DNA, we have these structures that can control when the cell would replicate or wouldn't. Also can control, and they are quite different, the activities of the cell. If it's a specialized cell which work on the immune system, for example, like our defense, will work on produce defenses, immunoglobulins, antibodies to protect us. So we have these structures that turn off or turn down all this machinery. That also can control the reproduction itself. So if we have it turn on all the time, you can have a proliferation, and it can be bad. Okay, so for example, cancer, not all the time, but it could happen. And sometimes with that, we have those codes turned off, so no reproduction, the cell could die. You're asking something about protection, I guess. So in order to talk that, I mean, I can relate that, for example, about the antibodies that we produce when we get in touch with something new outside from our body. That's how, for example, vaccines work. So we got injected with a substance. Usually that puts in alert our system, our cells, our protective cells, and those cells will produce our antibodies to protect us. They can be on the outside layer, or they also can be like free in the blood, for example. I mean, that's the rough explanation about it.
Nisha, your mic is mute.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Someone came to my door during the show. You know, it's like you have to be ready for everything. In the same way that that structure works, what you do is you liken it to how the brain is working in the same way, to be able to create new neuroplastic models in order for us to survive. So that same type of wall system that Flora is explaining, in the neurochemistry of the brain, when we are traumatized, we have to come up with a different way. You know, and so the body itself is going to come up with new structures and new pathways. That is what we've been talking about as we move along now. The cells themselves are readjusting and reframing themselves, is usually how we put it. A reframing in order to create a new immunological or a response system. So that is what we call healing. That is literally the crux of that term, healing, if that makes sense. So you can liken it in the same way. For a cell to survive, it's going to adjust and figure out something. And it's also for us to survive, the body is going to find ways to heal. DID is literally a healing mechanism. It's not a great one, don't get me wrong, but it's what we do to cope. Does that make sense? In a bigger picture? I know it was a big way to get to it, but does that make sense?
Our brain's way to survive. And I like what you said there. When we create new pathways, our brain has to also create new memories. So when there are traumatic memories that it's trying to, you know, create personas for, there's also means and ways for it to create new memories that kind of supersede. So the synapses in their brains have to always be active, you know. So I love how Floor had put it in such a, you know, biological membrane type point of view. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Lecter.
yeah. I was I'm not in biology at all, but everything you are just telling reminds me of something Jungi told us today during the concert. Um, when armies seem to say that they preferred, the angry Auguste
He
and
said,
angry, yeah, he said no.
no.
Uh, yeah, he just put a word on his transition and change. He just told army, "Oh, this is over. I softer now."
Exactly. And that was only one of the only things I put in our chat is that he said, right? What did I say? Jungi said, "This is who I am now. This is who I
Yeah,
prefer to be." I I literally. That's why I was like, when he announced August, I was like, let me geek out because literally he's doing what he said because he told us August D as a persona was written to not exist in this way anymore. August
yeah,
D transition. He's literally bringing us the transition of August D in August. I'm like, dude, this man and his wordplay is ridiculous.
I
yeah,
remember that show you guys did over the Festa with the, you know, the lineup of songs during his tour. And even that, you'll see not just a progression, but the transitions. You know, he started out just like, you know, being all angry and just, you know, and then it becomes more mellow. You know, it's just the songs are so more mellow, and at the end, it's like, you know what, I'm me. So like,
yeah.
I'm good. You know. So.
So let me ask you then, and then everyone talk on this point because I'm going to bring it back around. I fully believe Beyond the Story is literally the breathing example of what D-Day is. Only we're getting it sevenfold. Because it's their story, it's their words. They're coming to us. And I was trying to upload Floor. I'll try because Floor wrote the hand transitions for me, so the translation. So I'll try and upload that soon. So let's talk about one of the other things, and I'm going backwards in it. But remember that there's a terminology called ego. That's from Map of the Soul. If you consider from ego, literally persona, my time, epiphany. Although that's from Love Yourself, but as we move forward, even serendipity, even Haegeum, amygdala, everything is based on the concept of ego, and they use the word freely. So as we're looking at this conversation about what's to come, where are it's a big question. Don't kill me for it. So just tear it apart like you need to. Okay. Map of the Soul was literally opening the door for us to say we're transitioning awareness of who our identity is, the ego and the id, right? So where do you Like, where do you see let's see if I could explain this. First of all, like how connected are you to this concept? How connected is Haegeum to this concept of the ego and the ego transition? Does that make sense? I know it's a big concept. You could write a book on that, Floor. Me and Joanna, we're gonna write a book on that, the concept of the ego and transition.
Sure.
That's
Am I
a
okay?
lot of fun.
Sorry.
No, Lanchu, go ahead. I know it's a big concept. It's really hard. I don't
Yeah.
think we can actually talk about it right now.
For me, my Haegeum has begun a long time ago, but I didn't accept it. When I was, let me just, I'll try to do it. Uh, uh, when I was a kid, my family moved to Madagascar. I was born in France, but my family moved to Madagascar when I was 6, and when I went to school for the first time there, everybody told me, well, you seem different.
Mhm.
You're not like us. You seem different, even though I had the same skin color and everything. But I, well, somehow seem different from them. And beginning of that time, I tried everything I could do just to be like everybody, everything I could do. And I think that was the beginning of my actress,
Mm.
because I'm an actress too. But it's literally like 25 years of my life. I was trying to be like everybody and to fit the mold, and someday, somehow, one day, I I had a very serious disease, and this day, I just thought, well, is it worth lying to everybody, including me, because I finally,
Mhm.
I don't know, somehow I was thinking that me was someone else. I don't know if you understand me. And my Haegeum began when I realized that me was better than be someone like everybody, and I was different, but it was still me, and it was somehow funnier to be me, funnier and easier to not hide every time, and so. And it took me a long time, but I little by little just pulled down every how do barrier.
The barrier.
Yes, and I allowed me to do things the way I wanted to do, and act the way I wanted to act, and think the way I wanted to think, etc. and etc. But BTS played when I met them. I was very ill, and they just gave me the strength to go further in this Haegeum, because I was ill, and they somehow told me, okay, you're ill, but you can do whatever you want anyway. And this gave me the strength to go to transition and to change, and to tell myself, okay, I don't have to do some tiny progress. I can decide today that I'm going to be an actress, because it was difficult for me to accept that I wanted to play every time,
Mm-hmm.
all the time. So at this time in 2013, I just fully accept, and it was really it was quick. It was extraordinarily quick. I somehow understood that I could be whatever I wanted. and my Haegeum was there. Afterwards, it became more precise on some part of me, and it was like, when you do pottery,
Mhm.
yeah, you do a big like a big draft, and then you just do it. Yeah, you work on it more precisely, and that's how the big piece of art in my pottery was to accept this Hegel and to just you know go the way I wanted. Sorry, I was wrong.
No, that's beautiful. That's literally the personification, I would say, of the message he's talking about. Um, it's I was reading in the book, and what you're talking about and what Jono is talking about is he mentioned and he named them as glitches in the self. Like for us in neurology, we look at those kind of glitches and we think people have seizures or we have a neurologic disorder that's causing us to end up having a mental illness, a very strong
Mm,
illness. And the body has illness because things don't work, right?
yeah,
Things aren't working. So we have to we go through the same stages, the same things we've talked about recognition, acknowledgement, if you remember, you know, awareness, transition, and then acceptance, which now we're going into acceptance. So Jungi has a single page, and I want if everyone could talk about this. In this page in the book, he has two single phrases because it's Jungi and he doesn't talk a lot. So he's not Hobie. Hobie's going to give us a whole dissertation, and Jungi it's like 2 words. I love them. So Jungi shows us the images, right, of the fractured. This is not the fractured self. The fractured self we see during the concert. Remember, as he's talking, we physically see amygdala with the fractures. I just my body. It says becomes part of me, and then the after image is that one. The after image is this one. So this is becomes part of me, and then we have an after image. So this is the scarred self here. So talk about the concept of these 7 boys having gone through accepting that there's so many different parts of themselves and having to how do we live as a scarred self? Like what is it as what you're talking about, finding your transition to acceptance of self, right? Line 2. When did you find the scarred self and say I acknowledge this scarred self? Does that make sense? That's a big state. That's a big question again too. I get that one. Is that something you're still doing in the journey though? You're on mute.
sorry. For some aspects, I think I'm still working on acceptance, but some parts of me are have truly accepted the transition and change, and especially the traumas.
I was
But
gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
No.
no, it's okay.
Going. This page actually has 9 tiles.
Oh,
That's how I knew, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, I immediately went, oh, the 9 fractured cells. That's why I've said it all this time. And I was like, because he showed it to us in the book with this image. So, so then I would say, even Flora, whenever you want to chime in, with mental health and mental health awareness, and then moving beyond in our own story, we're dealing with the fractured self or the scarred self regularly, routinely, right? We're letting, yeah. So Flora, what do we, I know you've worked with patients, so um, when we're dealing with deep illness of any kind, whether it's mental or physical, how do we, for me, I approach in neuropsychiatry that fractured or that impaired self, it doesn't make them who they are. It's just something that's a manifestation of the illness, and we can find a way to move through it, to help them through. If they can just work on accepting, it actually reduces the ferociousness of an illness. Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean, you are clinically um, speaking, you're talking about a symptom. And when you deal with patients, not in the mental health area, just in the physical area, you, as a physician, you add the symptoms and you look at them as parts of a puzzle. But a patient's not only that, a patient is is also a person, and will have an impact, any disease, in their mental health. So it will affect them also, and sometimes we kind of forget them. Just me, these questions as a physician, although I most part of my job is lab, but I also said here and the first that I'm also a patient in mental health. So I'm quite vocal now about it, but that's what I get from Juni. That's what I needed at some point, that not only I see that I was seeing it as a characteristic of myself, but I felt that I was seen by other people, like that this was something that defined me, and I didn't like it. And I needed Jungi's words at some point that just told me it's not just a part of you. Just
I
so,
am going to actually, while you're talking, I'm going to put on snooze, the lyrics for snooze, because literally it is the song for this moment that we're discussing. It's exactly what this is. So we're going to talk about snooze because we haven't done it yet, and that's moving us along in the song presentation. So hold on and let me grab the lyrics for snooze. So Yoongi is saying, "You who's dreaming while looking at me, I'm always here behind you, so don't worry too much." So if you're afraid to crash, I'll willingly receive you. That line. Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard line to get through, because I think sometimes I just stop there. This line is the reason we relate to Bangtan like we do, because they've always been there, and they've always said this, that that even at the worst of the times, and he used the term crash because it's the crash in amygdala that constantly replays it in his mind because of the amygdala's learned memory and holding on to that trauma and that pain. So Bangtan gives us that support system to know that someone's going to be there, so goodness. So you don't suffer like I do. You who sacrifice your sleep for your dreams, it's okay to rest. For today, don't even dream. When you silently give me a light smile, only then I feel a little relieved. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but tell me, every time you saw Yoongi stop and look at us as we sang, as we chanted, as we did anything during that concert, can think about what he looked like. Does anyone want to tell me what you thought about that? Like just his face alone. Did I lose Joanna? I think I did. Hold on. Let me get her back in. Let me put you back in, Joanna. When we look at Yoongi during the concerts, that face that he gets when he looks around it, and we saw it. How many times did he stop last night and do that? How many times? He just stopped dead and looked at us and just looked.
It's definitely a level of not just comfort for himself, but like that line that you just read. There's a lot of acceptance there. There's a lot of appreciation there. It's definitely comforting for us to see that. And even that line, that last line that you read, I always read it and I always think like, why is he telling us not to dream? But really, when you dream, there's this pressure that comes with dreaming, because a lot of our dreams we have to make it into a reality, and Nisha was talking about ego. Ego is really the conscious self, and there's the primal self, which is it, just feeding into your feelings or feeding into your primal self. But if you stay in your conscious self, the aware self, and you just accept things and you just appreciate things, and even the transition of from the time the trauma created a scar all the way to allowing it to be a part of your body and looking at it as beautiful. So I think whenever he would stop and look, it there's just a lot of unsaid words with one look, and it's so comforting, that tiny smile that he gives us, or even if he's like screaming out loud from the bottom of his lungs, and it's like Shiba, he's saying it's okay to be human. It's beautiful to be human. So it's definitely reassuring.
The reassurance in knowing that as we reflected each other. So that fractured mirror that we've been seeing now for 6 years, I feel like in that moment that mirror is not fractured anymore. Like we are the reflection of each other. Does that make sense? I feel like I could take a breath. I if anyone else wants to comment on that. I know I can be a little prophetic, wax prophetic because of my poetic background, but as you all know, dream is my favorite line out of out of everything. And I held up a sign on the last day that says dream and I'll be here because I got it. It took me a long time to get there, Joanna, but I think I got it. So it may be very difficult, this road I've walked on. It may have looked like a flower path, but know that it was a thorny path with enemies everywhere, which is our own reflection. That's what we live through. I hope you never forget the one who threw flowers on the road for you. That means the people who've supported you, the elements of the world that have supported you, regardless of whether you understand who you are and the pain you're going through. When you're laughing, don't forget the one who cries because they live a day on your smile. My God, guys, can we please talk about that line? That is literally BTS and Army. The smiles that we have reciprocal for each other is literally the things that supports who we are. So does anyone want to talk about that, Lantu, and that? Nope. Did I lose somebody? Sorry. Flora, go ahead, please.
I'm gonna cry, but that's BTS. That's them.
That's them.
That's
Yeah, I know. It's a given when you get on the show that we're going to make the people are going to cry. That's really part of what the show is. Everyone knows I'm going to. That's just a life, whether or not everyone else does. It's, that's it. He literally succinctly put our relationship in a line, a single line. Isn't that? Lantu, you and I have been here a long time. Am I wrong in saying that he put our relationship in a single line?
No, you're not wrong. Jung is a magician when he writes music, write lyrics. In just you just said it a few moments ago. He just put two words and it means the whole word. And so Snooze is like one of my favorite songs ever. So it's quite difficult for me to talk about it.
I'm so sorry. I knew we hadn't given it the love we needed to. I purposefully said we would not do Snooze with other songs because Snooze is literally. I actually think Snooze is what Beyond the Story is about.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's the telling of that narrative. We'll put that aside and we'll table it because snooze is something I think we'll revisit. Just like we're going to visit, I think Jimin's Alone and Snooze actually have two parts. Like there's a little, um, there's a marriage between those two concepts of the alone and snooze that I think we can work on as we move forward. We're getting to the end. Flora does have to move, have to run. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love you. Thank you so much for being here and always being willing to share so much. You're the best. Poor thing, she's just working around work and coming out here and doing everything. I appreciate it. I'm really hoping Army will take the opportunity to watch this show. We are trying to keep them at a lower level, so I think we're going to probably close the conversation here with some last thoughts. We got pretty far with news. That line I want to just say there. Cry out loud when the world gets angry. When the hand that greeted you turned into a pointing finger, you could take a deep sigh and shout, "This shit is effed up." Because you are no different from anyone else. Why do you choose this painful and lonely road? Never forgot the reason, even if time passes. I hope your dream just won't just be left as a dream. I'll cheer you on anytime, anywhere. Dream. So he kept the same musical concept. You know that he kept the same melody. You knew
Yeah.
that he kept the same phrasing. He's kept it for 7 years. This man just
I'm out.
years.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, I didn't actually. I don't actually think we realized I was going to make this such an emotional show, but
Yeah, it's live. It's not fake.
it's truly who we are, guys.
Oh,
This is our heart. This is literally when we get here, we share with you at the depth. Literally, we're talking neuroscience and we're talking cell biology and relating it to their lyrics.
yeah.
I mean,
That's huge.
that's huge.
It's insane. I mean,
Really insane. You have 3 providers, a physician who specializes in microbiology. Each of us has our own specialty in our training and our research. Joanna's written multiple books, and both of us have books coming on and out in trauma recovery. And here we are explaining to you how literally their words peel away the layers of our trauma at the cellular level. It's insanity. These gems, man.
well, I'm so happy we have 3 more opportunities to see him, because this concert is every Bangtan concert was and albums and whatever they say was material for healing. Well, but this concert, this album is just I mean, it's like the title of BTS, Piece of Heart, BTS mission, BTS. I don't know how to say it. BTS mission
Mm-hmm.
in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their mission somehow is this concept is Haegeum. That's why we use this concept for us. But I don't even find words.
No.
I'm so happy to have 3 more opportunities to, because I was very sad. Yeah, I know. We connect. and as soon as they showed the poster,
You and I were like, okay, plans.
okay. So when did you say? Well, I took my phone and oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, but this way, I went to Vegas. I went to before Vegas. BTS used to come to France. So, but when they stopped coming to Europe, I had to go wherever they were. So I went to Vegas and I saw the 4th concert. I went to Busan. I went to New York and Chicago. So, well, I think I wasn't ready today to
Yeah.
say bye to this to this album. So for this concert, not the album, the concert. So I think it's a hint.
I I think
It's a chance. I don't know how to say it, but
well, the Mukmi were just adorable.
yeah,
So just bouncing around in the back, like woo, their little bunny cells. I was like, darn, they're just bouncing everywhere. And Jake was literally bouncing. All the video
yeah,
has him
yeah.
bouncing around, just hopping. And then of course Tave is just, I mean, hello. I'm surprised he didn't throw himself on that stage to sing Cypher 4, but that's okay. you know.
Yeah.
I think this gives them an opportunity to walk into a different world. We have JK's album coming out soon, and the overlap of timing has to be for a reason. Yoongi does nothing. Yoongi Jin do nothing, as you know from this our show. We know the two of them have they're defined. They define things way ahead of time. They figured out something we don't know, and we're gonna know what it is probably after Army Day, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
So the first thing I said was in the chat as I'm going away, but Yoongi, where was the where was the next part? As he ended, I was like, but wait, aren't you going to do this? Because I expected fully that at the last concert we were going to see the narrative shift. Because now he's going to say, but this is who I am. And then he told them, yes, I'm a softer me. No, I am this person and I love this person now. And then as soon as he announced, I was like, oh, he's doing it with the last 3 concerts.
Yeah, I think so.
Something specific in the that's going to be the transition. It's just going to be insane. By then we would have read the book. So I think it's going to have, they're not unwise. They know what they're doing. He could have done it in July. He's doing it in August because August Day. But
oh gosh, I haven't realized that.
Yeah, I said it earlier. He literally is doing the last series. He's doing the transition of August D, the character, in his his dissociative character. His dissociative character is August D, and that character has been his 7-year story, and he's literally showing us the transition or movement or completion of August D, which he said he was going to do because he said it in the storyline. He's showing it to us in literally in an August day. So August D, that's it. He's a play on words person. I mean, they all know what they're doing. So
he also said next time I'm on the stage, we will be 7.
It'll be 7.
Yeah.
The Vogue Japan, which we're writing the paper on, I was saying yesterday, there were so many concepts in it. I was like, this is perfect. It's a compliment to our company. So we're going to be taking the and we actually opened that paper, which I'm hoping everyone participates in.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
The inner person, because I shared it to everyone. We started working on it. The inner self and the inner peace concept that comes since Tay. So, because we're going to close out now. We're seeing that transition, that concept of his nonconformity to the standards of the world, and instead embracing his own narrative. That's what they talked about in that. They're like, this is who Yoongi is. Yoongi is a person who doesn't go for conformity. He doesn't have any norms. He's his own person. I was like, that's a blowout statement for us to get.
Yeah. But he told us this way since the very beginning.
Yeah, he did. To be fair, they all have. They're all very, very open about how they don't have any conforming narratives at all. That's why they suffered so much.
Yeah,
they just suffered. I'm looking forward to the day where we can have this discussion openly and people don't pounce on it. So we're going to close out on July 8th. Our groups still have to work on figuring it out how we're doing it. July 8th, we're bringing you our Beyond the Story,
Okay.
our Army Day event, right? It's from 3 p.m. on the 8th, and it goes to, I think, 1 a.m., which allows us to actually host with Uganda Army. So Gisela was supposed to be here. She's not here today, and that's fine. So Uganda Army, your group will be on.
Yeah.
And that's a full hosting conversation. I know, Tessa. I can't wait. And then hoping Army Malaga with Flor. So with Elena, I'm just waiting for her to get back to us, and then whoever else. So that's a much smaller event. Thank goodness. I think I'll kill myself. That was a 2.5-day event. That was a lot of work. So
Yeah.
So look forward to that coming. What does BTS Army Association have coming up for Army Day? Is there something specifically we need to look for?
I don't know. I think we have many things to talk about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll be putting that out pretty soon.
Yeah.
So everybody pay attention. But remember, you're
Okay.
coming to us on July 8th.
Yeah.
That 12-hour session.
Yeah.
Our Namjuning graphic will be going out to all of you soon with the instructions and actually to do that. This is the one that's coming out, and we're doing in with you guys, the other two groups, but BTS Atlas Army is physically doing that as part of a year-long project. And then we're asking Army around the world, all of our groups to submit those on the Google form, their BTS wellness journey, because we're going to create a book from it and give it to the boys. That's actually, I'm officially announcing it today.
Yeah. We wanted to do one as well, so maybe we can just.
We're going to do it together.
But ours will be in French. So do you want me to translate everything I receive?
We have 7 languages ready to translate. This
Yeah.
book is going to go out. So now even my team didn't know this is what we were doing with those. So those wellness stories and those sharings, we're looking to try and get about 108 of them, if possible. I'd like 777 for a lot of reasons, because it's very pertinent to them. But because of Map of the Soul, if we manage to get 777, then we have multiple books that we can create, and humbly we'll give it to them as a gift when they come back. So we have a year-long working on this project, and when the Haegeum series launches, and we'll start reading, in different languages, the testimonies that we're getting. So we have a year-long project of reading and bringing those testimonies to Army. So there's a lot going on.
Yes.
We have so much going on. We have our merch line, which is fundraising for us to help us to be able to support all these groups across the world in all the projects that we've been doing. We just got asked to work on a massive gaming project, which does have a BTS element. I still cannot tell you guys about it. When I use the word massive, trust me, it's massive. It's massive. And allows us to do a lot. So we need your help and support, guys. And then you'll be seeing our digital print will be coming out to everybody. You'll see this for the team as we move forward. So you'll be able to find us. Our bios will get updated. So I'm going to close out because we're just over our 1-hour mark. Much love to everyone. Look forward to our next show. We need to continue this conversation. We still haven't finished the set list.
Yeah.
I think we might finish it by August with the way we're going.
Yes. Yeah, we haven't finished it. Yeah. We will finish it when the tour is over.
We'll get it in time for now we have a timeline. Well, like by August 4th, let's get this done. So look forward. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Much love.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
To find
See
us
you soon.
Socials. See you guys soon. Love everyone. Bye. Bye, Army.